Welcome back to Passing Time with Craig. As always, I'm your host, Craig, and we're wrapping up our previews for this year's Calgary Fringe Fest happening July 31st to August 8th. I'm so excited. You have to check out the Calgary Fringe. There's so many amazing shows, a lot of great comedies, one person show. Yeah, lots of different varieties. And today, do I have one for you that you do not want to miss out on, and I cannot wait for. There is a new show called There's a new show called Ride or Die, which was the runner-up for Best of the Fest at the 2025 Vancouver Fringe Fest. It's coming to Calgary, all the way from Vancouver. And I got to chat with the writer and one of the producers, Natalie Gifford, and the director, Amanda Haggett. And it is unlike anything else that you'll probably see. 4 audience members at a time get to come and watch the show that takes place in a van. I know. What? A van? It sounds creepy and amazing all at the same time. Asking that question, when best friends ask the other person, would you help me get rid of a body? So, very unique experience. So I was very excited to chat with Natalie and Amanda about this and check out their show. This is coming from Imagination Forge and Craft and Bone Theatre Collective. Like I said, based out of Vancouver, 2 stars, 4 audience members. I had lots to chat about without giving away anything. So please enjoy my conversation with Natalie and Amanda. Let's do this. Oh my goodness, this show, Ride or Die. I'm so excited for Calgary audiences to see it. Runner up for Best of the Fest at the 2025 Vancouver Fringe Fest. Critics, everybody's talking about this. The hardest part about having this episode is we don't want to spoil it for people. We want people to go and see it. But I think let's start with it. Natalie, Amanda. Natalie, how did this story come to you?
Such a good question. Yeah. So it's funny because the idea originated from the fact that I wanted to do a show in a van.
As we all do. That's
yeah, don't you ever think maybe I should do a show in a van? But no, Vancouver was doing their site-specific bring your own venue application. And I loved site-specific theater. I think it's such a good way to immerse people in the story. And so I was like, what if we just did it in a van, proving the idea that, theater can really happen anywhere. Yeah. It doesn't have to be in the conventions of a theatrical space. It can be anywhere. And so I pitched it to Vancouver Fringe and they liked it. And then I was like, okay, amazing. Now we have to come up with something that takes place in a van. And I was working with this collective that I'm a part of, Craft and Bone Theatre Collective. And I was kind of pitching a few ideas. And then the one that I think we all took to was the idea that came from my best friend and I, late night at a Dairy Queen, just talking and, coming up with ridiculous situations. And I think my best friend, she turned to me and she's like, what would you do if I came to you in the middle of the night and asked you to bury dead bodies, no question asked? Would you really do it? And I was like, yeah, but also I feel like I would have questions. We had a bit of a discourse about it, and we thought that was such an interesting scenario. So I pitched that to the collective, and they're like, okay, wait, yeah, this is such a great idea. I feel like people can relate to, having that conversation with their best friend, with their, closest confidant. And so from there, I just kind of started to beat out some ideas of how the story takes shape. And again, really kind of grounding it in my relationship with my best friend and that kind of thing. And then, I kept going back and forth with the collective, and eventually we got a 35-minute play that I think is really fun and entertaining.
Well, that's awesome. And yeah, we've all asked that question. What would you do, to your closest person, your sibling you're super close with, your parent, your partner, your coworkers, your friends? You've all asked those hypothetical questions, and then to see this play out. But I'm intrigued, Amanda, as a director, is when you get involved with this, does this seem like this should be the easiest play to direct by being in a van, or is this 10 times harder than you'd imagined it to be.
Well, first of all, the audience is on the opposite side that they usually are, right?
Right.
So it's inherently backwards. So the audience is behind the actors as opposed to being in front of them. And I think even when Nat, like she texted me and she was like, "Hey, I have this idea. Can I talk to you about it?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And so we went out for coffee and she was like, "So, a plane, a van. What do you think?" And I was like, I have so many questions and so many, like, just even as a director, you're thinking about all of like the little things about sight lines or actually being able to hear with this massive obstruction being the van and things like that, and how large the playing space is and stuff like that. You're thinking about all of those things. But then one of my professors at university used to always say limitation frees creativity. And so I kind of saw this and I was like, okay, you know what, actually, I think the fact that it is in the van is literally the point, and we absolutely need to use this. Like, this is something that no one else is doing as far as I am aware right now in the Canadian theater scene. And so it was something that was a very, very interesting challenge for me, because number one, as I said, the audience is backwards. Number two, you're so much closer to the actors and to the action than you usually are. Usually there's like personal space between the audience and the actors, and there's that nice little personal bubble where the audience feels that they can be safe.
Yeah.
You don't get that here.
No.
You don't really get that here. We still respect the personal space of the audience, but it's significantly smaller. And so it was a really interesting challenge of just kind of playing with that space and how close is too close, and what can we do to kind of have the audience be part of the action without making them feel like they are on display and that they are in the play,
Right.
kind of thing. So it was a very interesting challenge.
Yeah, very interesting. And I wonder, Natalie, as well, coming up with the story, how much of it was changing once you started going into a van and coming up and seeing what this is like. You know, you have Amanda directing, you guys are both producing this, but was there a big, like, did the story shift too much once you started kind of going into the van, or was it pretty laid out for you?
Well, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I remember after I finished writing it, Amanda was very kind of steadfast in the idea of like, we're not going to change the words on the page. Like, this is our kind of drive. But she did tell me when I was writing the script, she's like, don't add any stage directions. Just keep it to the dialogue, because I'm assuming, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Amanda, like in rehearsal, we're going to play with it. We're going to see kind of naturally where things go and how naturally everything fits. And so it is interesting seeing it and what the beautiful work that Amanda did and our fabulous actors did. We actually had two casts but for the Vancouver Fringe, but this version is just going to be one set, and it's Jennifer Beveridge and Ina Wong. And seeing what they came up with was more than I could imagine, and seeing where they took the text was also more than I could imagine. I think because Amanda allowed for that freedom of play within the directing process. Of course, Amanda, you can speak more to that. So I wouldn't say like necessarily the story itself shifted, but maybe the intention and where the actors are going maybe shifted to something else fabulous that I couldn't have even pictured when I was writing it, which I guess is the beauty of collaboration.
Yeah, Amanda, would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, as it's very easy to create something fun and special and safe when you have such a fabulous script to work off of. Like this script, what Natalie wrote, is awesome and it's so good. And one of the reasons why I was like, okay, I want to make sure that we can like mine those things, that we can find the things that, because as a writer, you're imagining it and you're not physically like inhabiting the space.
Right.
And so that's a very different way to look at a story. And I mean, I think both of us, as we came into this partnership, we were like, okay, let's work together to create this piece and let's rely on each other's strengths. And Natalie is such a good writer and such a good producer, and she has those story beats like riddled throughout the script. And then I could just come in and be like, what if we did this?
Yeah.
What if we did that? What if this happened? And it was just the most fun thing in the world because it was so rich. It was so rich with subtext and meaning and reality and relationship. And so it was just a breeze and so much fun.
And I'm wondering, because like I've been at some plays and, you know, there's those beats and those stage directions, as you mentioned, you know, you kind of have to, at some point when you're speaking, you have to cross the stage because you're going to have to be here for when the door opens or whatever it may be. And so, yeah, I mean, the van is this much smaller space, but there's also just those natural things. We've all been the passenger in the vehicle where you're sitting in the front seat and you just start fiddling around with things. You're driving, you're flicking lights, you're doing all kinds of stuff. So like there is just those inherent natural things we do just being in a vehicle.
Absolutely. And that was something that as part of the rehearsal process, I was like, I want to embrace the van. The van was the original inspiration. Let's embrace it, and let's like embrace that everything that the van has to offer. The doors lock. Let's see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Let's, you know, play with the fans and all that jazz. And so it's a very fun and rich space to work into.
I'm interested. So you mentioned there was like 2 sets of cast in Vancouver. This one, we're just having one. Our main characters can be. I want to know, what was the process like? Because when it's a 2-person show, that chemistry, especially when this is literally about 2 best friends and asking a huge thing. What was that casting process like for you guys and finding these 2 performers for this Calgary show?
Honestly, I feel like we really lucked out.
Yeah.
We really lucked out because originally Jennifer Beveridge, she was part of the collective. So when I was writing this, I was writing it for the collective. Kind of started off as just like a bunch of friends trying to get together, wanting to do more theater and create those opportunities for us as you know, we all feel. And so originally Jennifer was one of the people I had in mind for the show, but we were looking for her counterpart and for the cat character, or was it?
Yeah,
we had her in mind. Yeah,
it was
that cat character. And so we had to audition some people. And it was a very fast turnover. We didn't really have much time to kind of weed through a bunch of people. And Ina came to us through a contact, through a friend, and we saw her self-tape. And I think we all just immediately were like, yeah, that's Kat. That's her. And so, but we didn't know how they worked together. Like, we did not have any clue. Jennifer and Ina had never met before. They had mutuals, but they weren't, you know, had no actual contact. The first time I believe they came together was for our first read through.
Wow. And
it was insane. After seeing them together, reading together, we were all like, wow, okay, this really works. Like, this really, really works. We immediately believed, oh, you guys could have been friends for years. It was so incredible to see. And I think it took such a load off from all of us of like, okay, this is actually going to work. This is actually going to be good. And again, Amanda, you can speak to more of how they were in rehearsal, but every time I would come and visit and stop by, they were just having the best time. And I even off doing the play, I was like, oh, they're going to be besties forever. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Were you fully rehearsing like in a van the whole time? Like pretty much?
Really good question. So last year when we were still trying to figure everything out, we were mainly blocking inside of a room with like chairs set up for a van so that we could understand kind of the mechanics in a familiar space. I mean, actors are very used to working in a room with chairs or limited props and things like that. And so I wanted to kind of get them a little bit into their comfort zone at first so that it could help take the intimidation factor away from it. But then I think last year, about a month out, we started actually rehearsing in a van. And then this time around, because Jennifer and Ina were actually both playing together last year at the Vancouver Fringe, like they were the same cast that we have this year.
Yeah.
And so because they knew the script, they knew the show, we just started rehearsals basically right away, other than first read, in a van. And so it was a really, really easy switch this year. I didn't realize how much we had to do last year to kind of encourage that step into the unconventional space. But I realized it this year when I was like, oh my gosh, this is the easiest thing in the world now. Love that.
That's awesome. I want to know from each of you, what has it been like to be part of a show like this, create this show that is this story about two, like a strong female friendship. That's what it comes down to. And like with so much going on in the world right now, it's so nice, to see something about friendship, but also just like strong female characters. Like Natalie, coming up with a story, how important was that for you? And what has it been like to see this story that you created come to life?
Oh, it's so important to me, honestly. I think as like a woman in theater, it's so important to make those opportunities for yourself and for your fellow co-partners of coming up with stories from a female perspective, giving opportunities for women to share their stories, and hopefully it feel like a universal story that everyone can share in, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
That was always at the forefront of my mind. And again, with the collective, it's predominantly women. So again, I think we all had this mission of coming up with things that we can do that are interesting, dynamic, complex characters that we can really see ourselves and sink our teeth into. And so I was just so happy that I was able to provide that. I did a little bit of playwriting in the past, but this is my first real, honestly, show that's actually been put up. So it feels a little bit imposter syndrome-y in the sense of like, I can't believe that this is actually being put up. Oh, I can't believe that I have all these amazing people actually thinking, we can do this and working on this. And, oh, wow, I can't believe audiences really love it. It's just that constant building. But it's so rewarding to see that in a way that I'm primarily an actor. And it's such a different kind of reward when you were part of the creative process of making it happen. It's such a different feeling. So yeah, it's just been an awesome, awesome experience. And I really, really could not have done it without the team. It just wouldn't have been the same, wouldn't have been possible. So
yeah, Amanda, like, what was it about it that you're like, I do want to direct this, I have to direct this? And what has it been like for you?
Honestly, the first thing that tied me in was Natalie. Like, Natalie and I have worked together as actors before. Like, we've been on stage together, and even when we kind of first did that rehearsal, because we met like 3 years ago on another show, and even when we first had that rehearsal, we kind of looked at each other and we were like, yeah, I think we're gonna be friends. Yeah. And so just like any opportunity to create things with Natalie, I was like, I'm in. And I myself, I love doing weird, wacky, wonderful experiences with theater. And as a female director myself, I realized how important it is to center stories around women. And there's not a lot of shows that actually have more than 50% of women involved. And that's been something that throughout my directing career, I've been really intentional about, and in wanting to center those female, non-binary, trans stories, and I really loved the fact that I didn't need to worry about that here. It was this lovely platonic relationship that was rooted in so much love and so much familiarity. And I mean, I think women all around the world and everywhere can relate to that and can relate to how special that relationship is. And so that was the thing that ultimately like checked all the boxes for me. Natalie was there. It was a play about women. And it was in a van, and it was really a very interesting setting.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of checking the right boxes there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it is, you make a great point too, because I've been lucky enough to kind of see it here in Calgary, the theater scene shifting a bit. There's still smaller productions, but it is stories about females, queer, Indigenous, people of color. Like, it's just, we're getting the opportunity now to share these stories because we've seen all the same old shit. Like, let's see some different perspectives. It could be the same story, but just different perspectives.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the biggest thing for me as well is the fact that, like, Natalie, as a woman, wrote this.
Yeah.
It wasn't just some dude who was like, I wonder what a female friendship would be like. Let's test it out. It was Natalie.
Yeah.
And like that experience, as you said, like you can feel the playwright's experience through it and telling those stories of those underrepresented folks and women in the theater industry. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, you go back at some of those iconic films, books, plays that, you know, we all think of this like strong empowerment. And then you're like, oh, no, this was a cisgender straight white male who wrote this book or wrote this movie. And you're like, oh, that's not as exciting.
Yeah. And I feel like, I feel like one of the big things that they tell you as a writer is like, write from what you know. So it's almost like I didn't even know what else to write but this because this was my experience, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, hopefully one day I can facilitate any kinds of stories, but I just had to know, like, okay, I have to write from what I know. Like, this is what I know. So it just kind of grounded it in that, I think.
Yeah. So tell me, both of you tell me, Natalie, you can go first. What do you love about Fringe festivals and doing this? Because I love the Calgary Fringe. I love Fringe festivals around the world because I think we get opportunities like this, unique stories, unique settings.
Yeah, I love the Fringe. I really love that it feels like any kind of artistry, any kind of theater performance you can find at the Fringe. And I feel like it really cultivates a environment that you wouldn't really maybe get outside. Like, you can feel a little bit more experimental. You can feel a little bit more. Also, I feel like a lot of personal stories happen at the Fringe and hearing about people's lives. And I think what I'm actually most excited about for the Calgary Fringe is, and I feel like Michelle and Tamara did an awesome job at this, is it seems like there's a lot of community in it. I've never been to the Calgary Fringe before. And I don't think, Amanda, have you been to the Calgary Fringe? So we're both very, very
nice
part of it. But what I'm getting from even just the emails I've been receiving, the group chats I've been on, is there's a real sense of community within the Fringe. And even from like themed fun nights to, you know, hangs. And I'm just so excited to meet all these people from all over the place and actually get to connect with them. Because I think sometimes at other Fringes, there's so much going on. You're like, I have to see that show. Oh, then that show's happening. Oh, and now it's over. Oh my gosh, everyone's gone. But it seems like what I'm excited to experience with Calgary Fringe is there seems to be, you know, set designated times for all of us to come together and be together. And I'm excited for those moments. And yeah, to really just talk to theater goers all over the place, all over the world.
That's awesome. Amanda?
Yeah, there's something about the Fringe. There's just like this electric energy about it where people are making art for the sake of making art.
Yes.
And it's not anything that's like, oh, we have to make money off of this, or oh, we have to make sure that like X, Y, or Z criteria is met. It's just because they want to make something. And that is the most fun element of Fringe to me, is that you absolutely, like, you never know what you're going to get. You could get a stand-up show that has like mime part of it, and you could get a show in a van. And you could get, I think last year there was literally a show that was on like the False Creek ferries in Vancouver. Like you just never know.
Yeah.
And that's the most interesting part, because usually when you go to theater, you're reading the synopsis and you're like, okay, do I think I'm going to like this story? Am I going to like these actors? I don't know. But with Fringe, it doesn't matter. You challenge yourself and you take risks on art and on artists, and it's just such a fun energy of giving anybody and everybody a chance.
Yeah, and we've kind of mentioned it, but I want to reiterate to people, these shows, your guys' show, Ride or Die, limited to 4 audience members a show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. We're really doing it for the love of theater.
So
the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, great, unique experience.
Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. And like, I think at the beginning we had a full conversation about whether we should be like opening it up to more people and just like having chairs on the outside of the van. But when we were talking about that, we kind of got into this place where we're like, no, like the point of this show is that it's in a van, and that setting, that intimacy that you feel beside 3 other kind of complete strangers, maybe 2 if you know the person next to you, I don't know, was something that was really important. And I think like Natalie was really the one who was like, this show feels like it's just for this intimate audience. And she was absolutely right. Like this show is best experienced in the van, and it's otherwise it just doesn't do it justice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we felt that we wanted to create a once in a lifetime opportunity where you get this crazy opportunity where you can experience the show, and that is your show. Like, it will never be how they say live theater. Every show is slightly different. And you just happen to be that audience member at that particular show. And how incredible can it be that you were one of the 3 who saw that show in that van? Yeah. I just really wanted to keep it to that experience, because again, like Amanda said, I just feel like it added to the story, it added to the novelty of the situation, which of course came with its sacrifices, but I feel that it was necessary for the piece.
It was.
Yeah. I have to ask, I've only got a couple more. We're going to wrap this up soon because I appreciate you finding the time for this. But I have to ask, have you had in the previous showings, have you had any audience members who are very reactive people that like has like, because it's harder. That's one of the things when it's a small, like I've been to plays where it's a, 30-seat theater and there's that one person who, loves to react.
Yeah.
Have we had any?
Actually, no. Like, can you remember anything that?
I don't think so. I did hear the feedback I did get from audience members is they wanted to say something because they were so close. They wanted to be like, no, don't. Or they wanted to like speak out loud. They wanted to tell the actors. Yeah. Which I find like such an interesting impulse to want to talk to them because they're right there. Yeah. I think they all kind of held it in, and we do a bit of like a front of house speech, kind of prepping the audience for this is what the experience is. You're a fly on the wall. Please, refrain from this. Like, please laugh and do all that, but please do not touch or talk to the actors. But it was funny getting that feedback of people just being like, I just wanted to say something. Yeah. Which for us felt so good because I felt like, okay, so they're invested in this thing. They want to be a part of it, which was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was definitely like a very interesting, because the feedback that we got from the actors was that depending on the reactiveness of the audience, it would really depend. It would kind of like change the show a little bit, because I mean, sometimes you would have these laughers, like you would have a car full of laughers. And if one person laughs, the other 3 people feel it's okay to laugh. And that's great. But then you would have quieter audiences. And that happens in all theater everywhere, is that every audience is different. But for this show in particular, because everyone is in a confined space, it was a very interesting experience for the actors to be like, okay, like we have to move through this. Like, we have to make sure that the pace continues and that we're continuing rolling. And like, we're not relying on audience feedback and things like that, because it is such a realistic experience in a way. Like, audiences literally wanting to talk back doesn't usually happen in theater unless you're in a panto. Yeah, it's been a very interesting audience feedback experience that we've experienced.
I think it's a true testament to the writing, directing, and the performances when audiences have connections to it. Like, I mean, it's even, you watch a horror movie and sometimes you're rooting for the killer and you're just like, no, go kill that stupid person. Like, go. But you start reacting because you're like invested in these people. And it becomes down to all those things that I just mentioned.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And there are some people who are more comfortable than others in that scenario as well. And so it's interesting to kind of almost like test the limits of the audience in that way too, and say like, okay, like, you're in it.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
All right. As we start to wrap up here, people have been listening to this. We've been chatting for about half an hour now. They're like, yeah, this sounds really fun. I think I want to see this. What are some of your final words? What can people expect from this show? Other than being in a van, what else can people expect? Without giving too much away, obviously.
That's such a good question. I think expect to laugh. I think what I really want people to take away is I really want them to see themselves in these characters. If you've ever been kind of in your 20s and you're kind of coming into yourself and you're kind of figuring out what your relationships look like as you figure yourself out, as you change, then I do think this is a story for you. And if you ever have those weird late night 2 a.m. conversations with your best friend, where you go through crazy scenarios, I think this is also a story for you, and a story you will definitely enjoy.
Yeah. I think expect the unexpected. And if you have ever questioned who you are and where you belong in this world, this is a show for you.
Which nobody ever questions that.
No, of course not.
None.
I am the only one.
Yeah. What is this questioning what you're doing with your life, who you are, where you're supposed to be? That's ridiculous. No,
never felt that way.
Yeah. I don't want to go to theater that makes me think.
Thinking? That sounds terrible.
No, gross. No, I am super excited for audience to see this. I'm super excited to see it. It's funny. I'm like, and as we were talking the last little bit there, I was just like, okay, which of my friends could I handle seeing this with? Like,
yes.
Could I bring along?
Yeah. That's the question.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, do you want to see a show in a van? I promise we won't get like kidnapped or anything.
Yeah.
The van doesn't move, I swear.
Yeah.
So they only have a few chances to see this show. Multiple ones a night during the Fringe Fest. So people should get tickets ASAP if they haven't already.
Yes,
absolutely. It's limited seating, so it sells out quickly.
Yeah,
I guess in that way. So please, get your tickets as soon as you can, and we can't wait to see you there.
Yeah, and if you have 3 other friends, you could just have a show for you and your friends.
That's a cool.
So,
private show.
Private show.
I like that. That's a smart move. I might just have to do that.
Why not?
Well, Natalie, Amanda, thank you so much. This was such a pleasure talking with you both, and I'm so excited for Calgary audiences to see this. I think they're absolutely going to love it.
Thank you so much, Craig. This was a joy.
Well, thank you.
Such a pleasure.
And hopefully, I mean, it's a little hot right now in Calgary. Hopefully it's not too bad when you all are here, but it should be good.
Yeah.
Crossing fingers.
Yes, crossing fingers.
Can't wait to get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Calgary Fringe Fest runs July 31st to August 8th. Check out Ride or Die, one of the shows, one of the more unique settings, that's for sure, in a van. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, this takes place all over Inglewood, so lots of different venues, but you can find the full Fringe schedule on Calgary Fringe's website. Go to their Instagram, and you do not want to miss this out. You only have 4 tickets per show. Not a whole lot of shows to check out, so please book in before it sells out. As I mentioned, you could go solo and be with 3 strangers, or just book out a private theater show for you and 3 of your friends. That's probably what I'm going to do. I need to book this before this episode goes out. Otherwise, I'm screwed. You can follow Craft and Bone Theater Collective on Instagram to find out even more information and find out all their stuff. Thank you once again, Natalie and Amanda, for coming on. I can't wait to check out the Calgary Fringe. Go support these local artists and local entertainers and entertainers from across Canada and around the world. It's a great time. Ticket sales go towards these people. And so please, please, please consider going. Honestly, what else do you got going on? You could go to see some unique show that you wouldn't be able to see anywhere else. So do that. And if you see me around at the Calgary Fringe, please say hi. Make sure to follow me on social media at PTWCraig, Passing It with Craig on Facebook and Instagram for all the fun ways to pass time. Otherwise, we'll chat soon. Bye.